Let's have a look at Steph and her inpatient rehabilitation journey. She misses her family, she's bored, and has begun to not want to repeat the same daily physio exercises. Adults strongly desire more leisure and social activities during inpatient rehabilitation, and they believe that this may speed their recovery, alleviate boredom, and ward off potential depression. No matter what age, gender, race, diagnosis, or disability, all people have the right to participate in leisure activities. And leisure activities enhance our lives. So what is a leisure activity? What does it look like? A leisure activity is something that is free from the bounds and the restrictions of work or duty, and that provides enjoyment, relaxation, and decompression. Most people have a bundle of leisure activities that they enjoy to take part in, whether it be spending time outside, building something, participating in physical or social activities. We can all kind of think of something that we'd like to do. When patients are in the hospital, especially in rehab programs, they're held to a really strict schedule. People's bedtimes, the food that they eat, the therapy that they're doing, their showering times, all of these are really highly regulated, and people are sleeping in not their own bed, they're sleeping with people, which is way different than they're used to when they're not in the hospital. If we think of these factors in addition to a person being in the hospital and the diagnosis or reason that they're in the hospital, and combine those two, that's a lot going on. As healthcare professionals, we hold our patients to these strict schedules to meet their rehabilitation goals, which produce positive outcomes, but by the end of the day, we go home and we'll participate in our leisure activities that we enjoy, and our patients will stay at the hospital in their hospital bed or in their small room, and then the next day they'll start on therapy again. The hospital rooms often lack daylight, and the patients barely get fresh air. I can really only imagine how restricting this would feel. How do you think you would feel after going through a life-altering experience and then be bound to the strict guidelines of the hospital that requires you to abide by? In saying this, I'm not saying that the rules that exist within the hospital are wrong. I think that they do exist for a certain reason, and there are guidelines that we should follow. However, we also should be pushing for more social and leisure activities for patients in rehabilitation. We must address patients' psychosocial needs in addition to treating their disease or injury. Boredom can negatively influence a person's speed of recovery. By using effective communication to monitor a patient's well-being, rehab assistants can take note of a patient's boredom and inform the team as it's needed. The desire that adults have for leisure and social activities can meet current needs and provide a foundation that they can use to participate in activities moving forward from their disease or injury. Recreation and leisure activities produce benefits from freedom of choice, a sense of control, sense of enjoyment, timelessness, a sense of competence, spontaneity, increased satisfaction, companionship. The list goes on. There's so many benefits from it. And I believe that all of these benefits can ripple effect into the progression of their recovery. So how do we introduce leisure and social activities into the lives of rehabilitation inpatients? There's many factors to consider before suggesting a patient should participate in a certain leisure activity. Various factors can be influenced, such as their inability to resume a leisure activity or their ability to resume an activity. Before marketing a certain activity, you should consider how the patient has participated in the activity before, and are they okay with participating in it in a different capacity than they once did. Or will introducing a novel activity be of greater enjoyment for them? With all of this in mind, leisure activities should be chosen out of a desire to participate and not be an obligation. Remember to let your patients determine if they want to participate or not. Leisure is from the freedom of work or duty. It shouldn't be something that you have an obligation to perform. Providing our patients with a space to be able to explore and to decide for themselves if they want to join. Leisure activities should be appealing to different individuals, and by incorporating social interactions within leisure activities, it allows for relationships to be built. And this is important, or it's also important to think about the frequency of doing your leisure activities. It's good to have them occur regularly, however, you still want to create it to be a natural occurrence, allow for spontaneity and choice. To address patients' feelings of loneliness, rehab assistants and staff members can try to facilitate meaningful interactions with both the patients that are in the hospital as well as family members or people that are in their social circle. I think especially right now because of COVID, it's really important that we think in a broader term of people are in the hospital and they're not allowed to have visitors, so that really adds an extra layer that's impacting their rehab stay, and we should be considering that and trying to adapt for that as much as we can in order to increase the amount of socialization that people are having when they're in the hospital. By facilitating group events, you can also have the opportunity for new relationships to be made and for new friendships to be started. Activities that are considered leisure will differ from person to person based on their interests and their abilities. For example, running for someone could be considered a great leisure activity, and for another person it could be considered immense work and a terrible time. Virtual reality games can serve both as therapeutic and leisure activities, and they've been shown to provide benefits for patients in both areas. By learning about patients' interests and styles of leisure activities that they enjoy, for example, it could be creating things, visiting people, going outside, moving around, all of these things, they can provide a start for potential leisure activities that we can introduce to patients and allow them to think if they want to join. By putting these key points to practice and observing the way that the RA in the video engages with the patient Stephanie, my hope is that you can become more aware about leisure activities and social activities that your patients are participating in, and hopefully think about different ideas and ways that you can provide more opportunities for your patients to benefit from them.